Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Hart for those of you that are new. And today I'll be breaking down this 8-game NBA slate here on DraftKings, talking through some of my favorite plays, doing a game by game breakdown for you guys, talking through everything you need to know, injury news, all that stuff, pivot plays, and building a potential lineup for you guys here for this game, this 8-game slate tomorrow night. If you're new to the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. And let's get right into it. Do want to do a quick recap of my lineup for tonight. If you guys want a more in-depth breakdown, where have a whole slate right up, go over my core plays, how to attack the slate, all that good stuff. You can find it linked down below on my Patreon. But yeah, the core plays for me tonight were Dejounte Murray, Champagne, however you want to call him, Covington, and then Chris Paul. And then so for Dejounte Murray, very surprised that he didn't come in at higher ownership. We've seen him pretty much absolutely smash every single game. There hasn't been Trey. There's been a few where he's had some duds, but for the most part, he's absolutely smashed without Trey, and he did it once again. 60 bomb there. Bogdan, very annoying because he's pretty high owned, but he just did not hit a shot. I think he was like 7 of 16, something like that. Not the best there. 3 of 10 from three. Champagne kind of obviously lucked a lot into 7 stocks there, but 26% flat minimum price he was starting. So I think it was too good of a spot to give up there, especially at that low of ownership and just the potential there for blowouts, as well as he's starting, so he's usually pretty aggressive there in the summer league. So I wanted to take that shot there, and it did obviously work out. Did not shoot the ball great at all, so obviously would have helped out, but we kind of got bailed out a little bit there with these stocks, so can't complain. Covington just super disappointing, chalk for a reason, and he just did not get the minutes, did not get the production. So that's frustrating there. Embiid, great there, 68 bomb, 24%. Cade Cunningham, arguably the best play of the slate. And I'm not saying that because I play now. I'm saying it. Here are the facts. 8,000. Super cheap. He's averaging close to 40 minutes a game, almost 20 shots a game, 22 and a half points. He has double upside with assists. He is playing one of the worst defenses in the league, and he is 4% owned. What happens? He has the worst worst first half of his career. I think what it was 1 of 4. It was just insane. It's just infuriating stuff because it's the past 3 slates. I've had multiple guys on every single one of my lineups go for their worst career shooting percentages ever. Ever. Dame last night, 3 of 17. He was 4% ownership. Jordan Poole was also 4% ownership. He played 11 in first quarter minutes, was 0 of 2, did not score a single point. Who else? I had someone else in my slate yesterday in my lineup yesterday who was also quickly 0 of 6 in the first quarter there, 1 of 10 to finish the game. The slate before that I can't remember, but it's just been constant guys just shooting their worst ever, and it's just very infuriating because Kate Cunningham is in an absolute prime spot here, smash spot, has just a horrendous game there. And sure, 34 fantasy points is not going to absolutely kill my lineup. I'm still cashing right now, but I just never get rewarded. I hate tilting, but I just never get rewarded. Just needed to rage a little bit. Sorry, guys, but yeah, Sarge there. I guess he's starting. Didn't really see that news. I just wanted to kind of get two of the Warriors players there without Steph playing. So I don't think this is updating. And obviously went with Chris Paul there, so we'll see how he does. But yeah, I'm cashing right now. I expect to kind of minimum cash, nothing too crazy here. But yeah, let's get into this 8-game slate here for tonight. Obviously, some of these lines and odds will change just because a lot of these games are still going on. And there's, I think, 3 games left tonight. But yeah, heading into tomorrow, Mavs Wizards. The Mavs got blown out tonight. Luka had a horrendous game, probably one of his worst games of the season there. So I expect to bounce back here. Fantastic matchup. 5-point spread, 243 game total. So really good game total. Great game environment against the just absolutely brutal Wizards. Knicks Hawks 1-point spread there, 230 game total. Trae Young should probably be back. I think he missed because of having a child. So yeah, expect him to be back. Knicks Hawks, just went over that. Sorry. Bucks Raptors 4.5-point spread, 226 game total. Magic Bulls 3.5-point spread, 217. That's absolutely gross game total there. Timberwolves Suns 5.5-point spread, 227 game total. The Timberwolves are playing tonight, so back to back for them. And then Cavs and the Trailblazers. Trailblazers played tonight, 9.5-point spread, 221.5 game total. So as you can see, we're missing 2 games as of right now. So heading into Dallas here, as I mentioned, Played tonight, got blown out by the Pelicans. Luka had his worst game of the season, but I expect a nice bounce back spot here for him. So Luka's just more so if you believe if you really like the value for tonight, if stuff opens up, excuse me, due to injuries, then obviously paying up for Luka makes sense. But still, it's a pretty pricey tag to get to a 12.1K, even with his upside in this matchup. So it really comes down to, do you believe in the value? If you do, I'd say play Luka. If not, I'd say go a different route. Kyrie, he's starting to heat up a little bit here, as you can see, 42, 50, 33, or excuse me, 35, and then 44 and a half, and then 58. So starting to cook and heat up here. So I actually do like him at 8.8K as a nice contrarian play. Tim Hardaway is a little bit too pricey for me as a scoring dependent guard off the bench. Lively does have some upside there if you can stay out of foul trouble, but that's just the huge risk with him. Very, very foul prone, but he does have some double upside. So if you want just a risky tournament GPP throw, you can definitely take it at him. Derrick Jones Jr., it's just kind of there. Would rather get to Grant Williams, who's been throwing up duds as well. And then Hardy's priced up. Not really sure why he's priced up there. There's no news as of right now. Powell, pretty pricey. So not a lot to like here for the Mavs side. I guess you could take a shot on Josh Green there, whose minutes are kind of in flux, but looks like the best as of right now. But yeah, nothing too crazy there for Dallas. It's really just the main two for me. On to Washington here. Kuzma, I guess, is just a safe option. Nothing too crazy here. He's kind of been the leader of this team. Poole has really taken a backseat. So I feel a lot safer getting to Kuzma. But still, I don't feel the best about his price tag, even though he's been pretty solid. Poole, just been god awful this season. Just absolutely brutal. There's not much more to say about it. Like, sure, he's had some fine games here, like DFS wise, like 38, 37, 36, 35. But it just overall, this team sucks. Jordan Poole sucks. I don't mind getting to him as like a contrarian GPP option. He's going to be super low owned, 6.8K. We know he has a massive ceiling. It's just he's just not been aggressive, not been efficient. You want him to shoot the ball 20 plus times, but it has not been there for him. But you got to kind of throw all that away and just say, what's the upside of the pool? We know it's massive. So I do like taking a shot at him if he's going to be coming in at low ownership. So he's pretty solid there at 6.8K as a contrarian play. Denny, a solid mid-range play. One of those guys that kind of stuff the stat sheet. I do have some interest in Gafford there. Pretty cheap price tag. He's a guy, as you can see, you can go off in a small amount of minutes. It's just one of those things. Another foul-prone player, injury-prone player. If he can stay out of both of those, he should have actually a pretty solid game here. So I actually do like him a lot right now. Bilal is getting more minutes, so he's actually a decent value. Kind of going off with the steals the past two games. Hard to trust that. Very efficient there, 4-7, 31 fantasy points. But he's seeing decent minutes right now, so I don't mind if you land on him. Otherwise, not a lot of interest right now for me. Kispert's playing mid-20s minutes, very score independent. Gallinari is getting about 20 minutes right now, but it's kind of hard to trust it. But I don't mind taking a shot on him if you want to kind of force some value there. That's really it. Moving on to Milwaukee here. Giannis is questionable, but he should be good to go here against Toronto. Kind of a gross matchup here overall, just a slow-paced game. But Giannis at 11.1K feels like a really, really solid play. Same thing, Damian Lillard, coming off a 3 of 17 performance. Obviously, I played him. One of his worst games of his career. Of course, I play him at very low ownership. But yeah, 9K. Really like him in this spot here as a nice bounce back. Bobby, Middleton are fine in the mid-range still. Middleton not seen above 20 minutes, so it's really hard to get to him. I do like Brook Lopez, but the minutes are kind of in question. Should see close to 30 minutes. Does have some upside there, but he really has not been shooting the ball a lot at all when Dame and Giannis are both playing. So he's kind of a risky, lower, cheaper option there in the mid-range. Campaign's too pricey for me as a backup point guard. Jake Crowder looks like he should. He's going to be out 8 weeks. So with that, I do have some interest in these value guys like a Beasley. His minutes haven't been the best, but if he does hit his shots, he can definitely get you there. But I think I prefer going to either Connaughton, as you saw, 29 minutes there. Only 3 shots, but still went off for 26 fantasy points. Kind of crazy there. Can't expect that at every game, but he should shoot the ball a little bit more. And then Beauchamp is a solid value as well. So I do have a good amount of interest in those two value guys, as well as Dame and Giannis. On to Toronto. Scotty is finally priced about right. Coming off a 1 bad game there, 4-15. Nice bounce back for 45. So he's a very solid spin up option. Pascal was too cheap there at 8,000 in past 2 slates. Absolutely exploded there for almost a 70 bomb against the Wizards. As you can see, the Wizards are god awful. So yeah, Pascal priced about right now. Rather get to Scotty for that price difference, or excuse me, a little bit pricier. Dennis Schroeder, a little bit too pricey for me, but he does have some solid upside. OG, if he's out, which it looks like he's going to be, Gary Trent, that's also questionable as well. Looks like he's out as well. So it's going to be starters of Pascal, Scotty, Dennis Schroeder, Podol, and they did start Otto Porter Jr., who only played 14 minutes, was not the best there. So looks like it's going to be that lineup again. And if that happens, I think I'd rather get to obviously the starters. The minutes for Siakam and Scotty are going to be fantastic, which they already are, but it's just a little bit safer of a bump for them. Boucher, he saw 20 minutes off the bench. I think he's a very solid point per minute guy there. Do like him a lot. Malachi Flynn played 23 minutes, so he's getting some decent minutes right now. If you want to go to some cheaper value, I don't love Otto Porter Jr. just because his minutes are really in flux. They're not the safest as we saw last slate. Precious should see around 20-ish minutes. I actually do have some interest in him. Not the best price, but he can definitely go off there at that price tag in about 20 minutes. And then, Grady Dix did see some minutes, but not the most efficient in terms of DFS points. Yeah, that's really it. So kind of more of the value for me there on the Toronto side. Moving on to New York and Atlanta here. I do like the price of Randall. I mean, he's been god awful, but he's been decently productive for how bad he's been. 8.2K, don't mind him because he's pretty solid at getting rebounds and assists, even if he does go for 20 shooting the ball. Brunson, I think he's a fine play, just more so of a contrarian play. You really need him to kind of go off with like 30, 35 real life points because not the best in terms of getting those steals, rebounds, or assists. Kind of a scoring dependent guard for me. Barrett is questionable. Obviously, if he's out, they'll move Hart into the starting lineup, who is coming off a pretty solid game there. Once again, I'd really like him there at 5.7 if he does play. If he moves back to the bench, I really don't have much interest in the shooting guard small forwards there between Grimes, DiVincenzo, and Hart. But obviously, if there's Barrett out, Hart becomes a really good play. And off the bench, DiVincenzo, not seeing the most minutes, but he'd still be a decent option if you'd land on him. Same thing with Grimes. You can definitely land on both of them. I'd rather only play Hart, but they are there. And then quickly off the bench, of course, I play him. Me, Dame, and quickly combine 3 of 27. But yeah, 1 of 10 there. We know he's very, very good at scoring. So I like a nice bounce back spot here for him. If there's Barrett, he comes to be more so of a contrarian play there. Robinson, kind of like a Gafford. If they could stay out of foul trouble, they do have some pretty boom ceilings if you want a GPP option there. Then Hartenstein, if you think Robinson gets foul trouble, decently efficient. Don't mind taking a shot on him. On to Atlanta here. Trae Young, obviously, was out tonight. He should be back for tomorrow here just because, his kid, he had a kid today, should be back for tomorrow. So with him back, everyone's kind of priced about right. I still, have some interest in Jalen Johnson there. DeJounte too pricey for me. Trae Young, I think is still a solid price there, 9.3K to get to him. Bogdan, now he's priced about right for me. Same thing with Hunter. Okongwu is priced up a little bit. I think Bay is probably the most interesting to me. But yeah, not a ton of interest in Atlanta for me as of right now. Besides maybe Trae and Jalen Johnson, and maybe taking a shot on Bay. For Boston here, I still think Tatum was way too cheap here. A nice rematch from the last year's playoffs. Really, really like Tatum here. Brown and the rest of the starting 5, I think they're more so solid, plays here. Porzingis is questionable. Obviously, if he does miss, Horford will probably get the start there, and Horford would be a very, very, very solid play because they're going to need his defense against Embiid. So really like switching to Horford there if Porzingis is out. Now, if Porzingis is in, you can definitely still get to Horford because they'll still need his defense, and there's foul trouble risk there with Porzingis. So I think, Brown and Porzingis and Holiday make for strong secondary plays. I do still really like Derek White here, coming off of 3 just really bad games in a row. They did not close with him in the Brooklyn game, even though he was having a decent game. Toronto was not the best there, and obviously against the Knicks, terrible game there for him. So he's been super aggressive, as I keep saying, alongside the starting 5. So I still really like him. One of those guys can absolutely rack up a ton of stocks. So I actually do really like him there at 6,000 in this matchup. Expect him to bounce back here. That's really it. I don't have a lot of interest in these, value guys for the Boston side. For Philly, Embiid, once again, kind of like Luka, if you feel good with the value, you can definitely pay up to Embiid. He'll be pretty low owned. They finally priced Maxey about right. I think tonight he was still like 8.5K, too cheap. Now he's up to 9.5K. They finally priced about right. So now he's more so of just an okay play if you do land on him. An okay spend up. Would rather get to Trae Young for a little bit cheaper, but he still has huge upside and still plays all the minutes, takes a ton of shots. So, I mean, nothing's really changed besides the price which makes him, takes him away from being like an absolute must play in a lock to now more so just a solid spin up option. Tobias, very interesting here because he did leave the game. I don't think he came back. He left the game with concussion system symptoms. So if he's out, they're going to be pretty short-handed on their small forwards. So we could definitely get some value here with possibly, Daniel House moving into the starting lineups. Definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, Covington, should probably start again there after tonight, but we'll see if Batum is back or not. Hopefully he's back because I guarantee Batum will be back. Batum will be chalk, and then Covington will go off at very low ownership. It's just frustrating stuff here. But yeah, definitely keep an eye out on what happens with the Tobias Harris news there, and then we'll kind of play around that. For the Orlando Magic here, Fultz and Wendell are the big news here. Fultz did not play tonight, so we'll see if he's back. If he's back, it does kind of lower the interest in Paolo and Franz for me and the other guards like Suggs, Anthony Black, who has been playing, and Cole Anthony off the bench. Now, if Fultz is still out, it definitely raises the ball handling for Paolo and Franz, makes some pretty solid plays, especially in this matchup against the Bulls. Suggs does have a ceiling here. He did get hurt tonight, but I do think he came back. So coming off a game where he burned a lot of people, it would be a nice bounce back spot for him. And I would have a good amount of interest in Cole Anthony, who hasn't been the best. 2 games ago, last game, and then tonight just has not been the best for him. So I do like buying low on him. Kind of, microwave scorer off the bench. Goga still not seeing a ton of minutes. Him and Mo Wagner are splitting the minutes, so I'd still rather get to Mo Wagner. Anthony Black did start, but he's just not been shooting the ball and not been aggressive at all. So 3.8K is just an okay value play. Would rather get to Isaac there, whose minutes are still in question. His production's all over the place, but still one of those guys who can be pretty productive. And Joe Ingles has actually been decent in terms of value, so if you land on him, I don't mind that. Moving on to Chicago here. Really, really good matchup here for Vooch. So I really like him coming off a huge game there for us last night. 2 nights ago. Last night at 54.5 fantasy points. Levine coming off a very, very poor shooting performance, 5-19, but still a guy that has a really solid upside. And DeMar DeRozan, the same thing. They all kind of feel too cheap here for their roles and their price tags. Kobe White, fine mid-range play. Don't mind him. Kind of scoring a pennant at times. Caruso is questionable. If he's good to go, he's an okay value play. Obviously, if he's out, we can still get to a guy like Io or Jalen Carter off the bench as some good value. Pat Williams is questionable as well if he does miss, but it looks like he should be able, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay value play down there at 33.9K. And then Drummond, if you want to land him, sure, but he's just too pricey for me at that price at 4.5K. Moving on to Minnesota and Phoenix here. Minnesota coming off a back-to-back, so we'll see what happens tonight. Maybe there's some injuries, but as of right now, we kind of got to assume everyone's good to go. Love the price for Anthony Edwards. Karl Towns does feel a little bit too cheap here. Gobert's fine as a mid-range play if you do land on him. Never like going on my way to play him, but if you do land on him, sure, you can get to him. Conley just hasn't been aggressive. He's an okay play. Don't mind him. Kyle Anderson, kind of the same thing. Just not a lot happening here for the rest of the team besides the main 2 guys at the top. And then a guy like Naz Reid off the bench. One of those guys who can easily explode off the bench. Usually decently productive and aggressive. Should play anywhere from like 18 to 25 minutes, depending on how he's doing. Otherwise, there's not much to like here for the Minnesota side. It's really just Anthony Edwards and Karl Towns' team. On to Phoenix here. Booker and Beal should be good to go. We'll have to see if there's any sort of minutes limit for either one. If there's not, I think, depending on ownership, I think I'd rather get to Beal. We saw him those, past 3 games, 24, 32, and 30 minutes. Now it'll be interesting kind of how, production-wise these guys turn out. I think I'd rather just take a shot on Beal. I don't think I'd spend up on Durant or Booker. I'm assuming if all 3 are good to go, no minutes limits, they'll be decently low owned just because of, people would rather get to Beal. But I'd rather pay up for other studs than get to Durant and Booker, where it's like, you have 3 superstars. How's the offense going to turn out? As we see with the Clippers right now, it's been god awful. I expected them to be a lot better in terms of figuring out their offense. But yeah, right now, the only interest for me would be Beal. With those guys most likely back, takes out all the interest guys for like Allen and Gordon for me. Bates Diop, Nurkic, everyone's just kind of okay secondary options. No one really stands out. Potentially Eubanks as a cheap option there at 4.5K, but otherwise, not a lot to like here for the Suns with those 3 superstars most likely, those 2 superstars being back and Kevin Durant there. You can take a shot on them for low ownership if you want. But yeah, I'd rather pay up for other spin up options. For the Cleveland Cavs here, Donovan Mitchell is going to be a really, really good play here. Obviously, there's blowout risk, but there's no Darius Garland. And as we saw at the beginning of the season, when there was no Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell absolutely went crazy there. 54, 70, a 60 bomb, a couple 50 bombs. So absolutely love Donovan Mitchell there. Point guard, shooting guard eligible, which is fantastic. Mobley, price about right. Don't mind him as a contrarian play there. Been decent recently. Obviously, Garland is out. It'll be interesting to see who they move into the starting lineup because Okoro is out as well. I would assume. I do think they might get weird because I think they do like having Levert off the bench there. Because if they don't leave him, if they move him from off the bench into the starting lineup, they're going to struggle in terms of offense off the bench there. They're going to have to leave one of these guys out there. So I think they might leave Levert on the bench. He's a really, really good play. He's already playing huge minutes. He's already been super aggressive, pretty efficient recently. And now with Garland out, they're going to need more playmaking and scoring for him. So lots to like here in terms of the two guards for the Cavs. Allen, still in a minutes limit here, so don't have a ton of interest in him. Strus, I think, is a very solid play. Another one of those guys who's kind of all over the board in terms of efficiency, but has the ability to grab rebounds, get assists, and if he hits his shots, he's a really solid play. So I do have a good amount of interest in all three of these Cavs guys. So I'm going to throw all three of them in for right now, just because of Garland being out. More playmaking and usage to go to guys like Donovan Mitchell, Levert, and Strus, because their core is out as well. So they're kind of running a little bit low in terms of their team, in terms of guys who can score and play there. Dean Wade, okay value, should see mid-teens minutes. I shouldn't say okay, he's terrible value. Niang is okay value. That's really it. Maybe they'll throw a guy like Sam Rowe in, but really no need to get to anyone besides kind of those main three guys. For Portland here, Brogdon was out the past few games. We'll see if he plays tonight. If he does, I really like him there at 8.1K. Obviously, if he's out, they're going to start Sharp, Grant, Ayton, Mays, and Kamara did start for Thibault tonight, so keep an eye out on that. But yeah, Sharp, I'd still have a ton of interest in him. Grant and Ayton are pretty decent plays. Mays, price about right, 7K. Not really sure what he's doing right now tonight. But yeah, he does have that double-double upside there. Kamara did start for Thibault, so if that happens again, Kamara would be a pretty solid value. There at 3.8K does feel pretty cheap there. So I'm going to throw him in for right now, assuming he starts again. If not, he's been seeing solid minutes off the bench, so he does seem like a pretty solid play. And then Jabari Walker, decent value play there at 3.3K. Should see mid-teens minutes. Would get more, obviously, if there's foul trouble in the starting unit. And then Jamari Bouye has played some minutes there. So absolute dart throw. You could definitely take a shot on him if you wanted to. That's really it. And then Sacramento versus the Lakers. The Lakers are playing tonight. Both AD and LeBron are playing. So I guess a little bit of risk if maybe they sit out. So keep an eye out on that. But Sabonis, 9.8K. Pretty solid play there. Really like the price tag of Fox here. Came back, played 36 minutes. We know the upside there with Fox, so 8.3K, really like him. Keegan Murray, I still think he's viable. Played almost 40 minutes, went for 41 there, alongside Fox and Sabonis. So if he does hit a shot, like I said, he can go for a really solid game there. So two great games back-to-back for Keegan Murray for us. So that's nice to see. And with, kind of Fox back, really takes Monk out of contention for me at that price tag. Don't love it. Same thing with Herter. They're priced up for when Fox missed. So don't like any of those guys. Harrison Barnes, always just a random GPP play you could get to, but hasn't been shooting the ball well, and he hasn't really been shooting much at all. That's really it. Don't have a ton of interest in anyone else. I'm sure they'll dust off JaVale McGee. I think you can take a shot on him as absolute dart throw value just because Lyles and Lynn should both be out for this game. So yeah, they're kind of lacking backup size and center. They're kind of needed against Anthony Davis. So I actually do like, JaVale McGee here as a punt, dart throw play down there at the flat minimum price tag. Especially if, Sabonis does get in foul trouble guarding AD. And then for the Lakers side here, absolutely love the matchup for AD and LeBron. If they do play, obviously, if one or both miss because of the back-to-back, hopefully we get that news early on. Otherwise, we might have to build our lineup around the fact that they might both be out. And obviously, if that happens, we'd want to get to at least two, if not three of the Lakers, whether that's Reeves and Russell or, Russell, Wood, and Hachimura, whoever kind of starts there. But yeah, with both of them most likely in, not a ton of interest for me. They're both priced about right, but I do think, they both look like pretty solid spin-up plays. Don't love the price tag on Russell. Reeves, decent price tag, but hasn't been the best recently coming off the bench. Kind of limited there in terms of minutes. Wood, a little bit too pricey because of Anthony Davis missing that other night, or excuse me, LeBron missing that other night. Same thing with, Rui. He's been productive, but it's because those guys have been missing the games, and now that they're back, not a lot to like here for their price tags. And that's really it for the slate breakdown. As I said, still a good amount of news we kind of have to keep an eye on here for this slate tomorrow. So make sure to stay updated with me on my Twitter, on my Patreon. Hit that like button. And to fill out the rest of this lineup, 6K left over for the guard spot. Obviously, everyone's not I don't have this all, built out in the right ways. I'm just kind of throwing people in here. But with that in mind, don't mind getting Suggs here against Chicago or getting too quickly there against Atlanta. I think I'm going to go with quickly against Atlanta right now. Obviously, we have to wait for the RJ Barrett news and the Fultz news. But yeah, both those guys should be decent options. But if both those guys are out, Barrett and Fultz, both those guys should be really solid options. So that's the video. Hit the like button. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.